In 1999, an isometric, story-heavy RPG came out to massive acclaim called Planescape Torment. It features an amnesiac, immortal man waking up in a strange city to set off on a journey of self-discovery. It was a remarkably well-written story with a very personal scope and narrative design that accounted for a lot of divergent player dialogue choices. The protagonist, the Nameless One, is an immortal being who has repeatedly died, had his memory reset, and lived new lives with new personalities. His goal is to rediscover his past, including the secret of how he became immortal and why he lost his memory, and finds himself pursued by shadowy, ghostly entities. Over the years, the game's status as a classic cemented. It became a legend among RPG fans, and it was the benchmark for storytelling in games. In 2017, an isometric, story-heavy RPG came out with the overt intent to recapture the magic of Planescape Torment. It prided itself on directly involving many of the original Planescape developers. It was called Torment: Tides of Numenera, starring the so-called Last Castoff. The Last Castoff is effectively an amnesiac, since their unique persona is newborn and they only have sporadic memories of the time when the changing god was in their body. They also have a healing factor that makes them functionally immortal in most circumstances, and they are pursued by a shadowy, ghostly entity. This game goes out of its way to reference Planescape Torment as often as it can, including literally inserting a character who appeared in Planescape with the excuse that this character can do multi-dimensional travel. The most interesting parts of the game are its presentations of the throw-everything-at-the-wall, go-nuts, science fantasy Numenera tabletop setting it takes place in, and some of the strange characters who inhabit it. But it is weakest when it goes out of its way to mimic Planescape, which is unfortunately quite often. Tides of Numenera is generally regarded as alright, but it has never broken out of its niche. In 2019, an isometric, story-heavy RPG came out to critical acclaim called Disco Elysium. It features an amnesiac man waking up in a strange city to set off on a journey of self-discovery. It was a remarkably well-written story with a very personal scope and narrative design that accounted for a lot of divergent player dialogue choices. But crucially, it does not wallow in these superficial similarities to its inspiration. If you've played Planescape Torment, the influence is probably obvious, but the game stands on its own much better than Numenera, successfully synthesizing many more major inspirations. Now, Disco Elysium has the role Planescape Torment has enjoyed, and Dark Math Games' XXX Night Shift and Longdu's Hopetown and the Husk wearing the skin of Zom's Project C4 all could be poised to not be the next Disco Elysium, but the next Tides of Numenera.